What is going on, guys? Sid Blake here. I found out today that the R8 that I picked up is actually going on a truck tomorrow for a car that I'm trading it in. So I thought I had like a longer week to kind of do some of the ownership stuff, going over the time owning the car, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna try to get it done in a video today. And today we're looking at a 2011 Audi R8. I'm going to talk about some of the things I did in terms of due diligence. So just a quick overview. This 2011 Audi R8, this was my dream car in high school. I graduated in 2011. You could probably figure out how old I am. And I thought this was the coolest thing ever. In the Iron Man 2 movie, I saw Tony Stark. He had the Spyder. This is a Spyder. Tony Stark probably had a V10, but I don't have Tony Stark money. I'm not trying to maintain a V10. The V8 in this one's super reliable. Kind of talk about things I looked for before I purchased it, just to kind of help people out. If you're thinking of buying an older R8, there's a couple different gens, some things you want to worry about, some things you want to think about as well. And then we'll just kind of take it for a drive, kind of explain some stuff about the R-tronic transmission. Of course, the gated manuals have been going through the roof. I actually just saw a sale for the V10 gated manual going for like 203 grand on Bring a Trailer. Original sticker was 180. Original sticker on this car, you will see I added an aftermarket grille just because I like the honeycomb styling of the RS. But retail on this one, I think, was 160 grand. So it has some carbon options, but I picked this up for 68.5, which was essentially a buy bid. I have a really good relationship with a dealer. And then this is actually getting traded towards a 2020 Ford Raptor, which happens to be in the same gray that all my cars are wrapped. Kind of weird that someone else did that and that worked out that way. But pretty much after I traded it in, especially with the tax credit here and what the Ford Raptors are going right now, cost of ownership of this car was not too bad. So we'll get into that in detail. All right, so car is started up, 20,000 miles on it. I bought it about 18,000. So put about 2,000 miles on it, which was a lot of fun over the past couple of days. Not too much here going on with the MMI. Even though this is a non-gated manual, this is the R-tronic transmission, which is single clutch. They later moved to S-tronic, which is dual clutch, a little bit better. So something you should know about this car, especially the V8, is the shift points are terrible if you leave it up to the car to decide. So I drove this car in manual mode almost like 90% of the time I've had it. A lot more rewarding, it's just a much better driving experience. So you're getting more of a manual experience in it. I know, again, like obviously not gated manual, but the R-tronic transmission is like just one of these things that's hard to describe. I watched, I think Stratman did a video a long time ago, talks about the lurching of it. It's like, it's clunky, which is why you really want to kind of be in control. And if you do, you get really rewarded with the naturally aspirated V8 in the back there. We'll put the top down here. So one of the things, obviously, with the Spyder versions, you want to make sure that this is functioning. This car is very difficult to operate on. A lot of the things, if you're doing it, really have to get done, dropping the whole engine out. But this one was in great shape, no issues. Top goes down pretty quickly, actually. And then we're done, just mind the pollen there. Windows go back up. So there we go, we got the top down. One of the things that I also experienced in this car is actually having to change the oil. Now, I got the car serviced before it shipped to me. We put new tires on it, we wrapped it, which I guess I regret wrapping it considering how short a time I had the car. But someone else will get to enjoy it, and I think that helped the buy bid that we got for it anyway. But this car guzzles oil. I was reading a lot of Audi forums because when that oil light went on, I panicked because we'd only been like 1,500 miles or so. I had to fill it up. So I highly recommend, if you're going to be driving this car, taking it grand touring, that sort of thing, like just have oil in the trunk space, which I'll show you. Just something like really important. And it's kind of a bitch to change it. So here the car beeping, the car's in the ignition. If you click this switch, it pops this. And then you can access and change the oil back here. So I mentioned before, a lot of the work, it's really hard with the Spyder top to get back there. At least they made the oil there, but your car is going to guzzle oil. Now, another thing you should look for before you purchase one of these is just checking how many launches have been done. It's pretty easy if you hook it up to a diagnostic computer, they can run and check. This one only had 4 or 5 launches on it. And then I think the other metric you can see is how many times the car has been shifted. That doesn't really matter too much, but knowing that the car wasn't tracked is really important for these things as well. The other thing too is like really taking a look at the service history. Some of these cars have some big issues with the mag ride. That's something that for some people goes really quick, for other people they don't. This car had no issues, but if you are looking aftermarket and someone's already placed the magnetic ride suspension with something else, like that's like the biggest favor. You know, that's not really that won't really hurt the value of the car, and also will save you some headaches, because trying to replace the mag ride now is crazy expensive, and you know, there's just better alternatives out there. Another interesting like quirk about this car is this is for Bluetooth, so when you're down with the top down, whatever, you can have pretty decent call quality. But the problem is that you can't actually have Bluetooth play through here, meaning the MMI just does not connect via Bluetooth. So back here, I actually had to get one of these little dongles, which then doesn't plug into my iPhone, and then connect these two dongles together to get it to play. Something you just have to keep in mind. Now, another thing that I think a lot of people take for granted is a backup camera. Now, this car has a technology package, but does not include a backup camera. So like, understanding the older Audi options, if you look at the sticker, just something to ask. There's not too much of an issue backing this thing up, but parking is difficult because the car is still very, very long. Obviously, it's also very low to the ground. So if you are buying one of these and someone's taken the courtesy of adding an aftermarket backup camera for you, no problem at all. There's also a Pioneer brand and this other Japanese brand, I think, as well, that you can actually replace this factory MMI with, and it'll even connect to this, so you can have your volume control through it as well. That was something I was thinking of doing, but obviously I'm not keeping the car for as long as I thought I would, so something to, you know, keep in mind. Now, I talked to my buddy that wholesales the cars, and I asked him, you know, his opinion of kind of upgrading some of the electronics of an older R8 like this. He said as long as you keep what you pull out, so, you know, hold on to that MMI, you know, don't throw it away, it's not really going to hurt the value of the car, because it's a feature most people want in these cars anyways. You know, not really taking away from the drive experience, anything like that. Now, another thing that I heard was like how much of a great daily driver this car is. I guess it depends what you're doing daily. You do get a lot of room in the trunk. I'll show you here in a second. So again, there's like the more modern styled RS grille. So you have like a decent amount of space in here. But I wouldn't say that it's, you know, an overwhelming amount of space. So as long as you don't have anyone in the passenger seat, you can definitely fit a lot in here. I would say this is great for going away on a weekend. You got enough room for maybe 2 backpacks, but like, you're not going to fit, it'd be hard to even fit carry-on luggage in there. So I understand that people like saying that about this car. How realistic it is, I'm not really sure. I want to also take some time just to go over like stylistically some things with the car, just so you guys can get an overview. So I wrapped this car in satin gray with 3M. So the styling is really nice. Now, with the Spyder, you lose the blade, which is so kind of iconic of the R8 design. But I do think that the styling is pretty modern here. Again, this car is bone stock, with the exception of a modern RS grille. And I will say that adding the modern RS grille really makes this car, you know, to me, timeless. I think it's a very timeless design. People forget the concept car for the Audi R8 at Le Mans was in 2003. If you look at that car in 2003, it is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing what they thought of in 2003. But, you know, with the V8, you get the 2 tailpipes as opposed to the one thicker one that you might see on something like the RS5 there. It looks a lot more like that. Got temp plates that are expired, doesn't really matter. And then you also get this little fin in the back, which you can put up or down at your leisure. There's a lot of aftermarket parts, so if you wanted to upgrade anything to look more modern, you could, but I think the car stands alone pretty well by itself, by any comparison. So that's it with the styling. I guess we'll start it up and do a little drive, and I'll kind of talk through, if I can, you know, what the driving experience is like, just so you can get an idea, because obviously this is not really a car that you'd see on the lots. I haven't seen any on the road, modern or you know, vintage. Of course, we're just kind of getting into spring, so I'm sure someone's going to be pulling them out in a little bit. But yeah, we'll start up. Is that a workable angle? I don't know. So the V8 still has a little bit of a growl to it. Nice little startup. It'll go into a low idle in a little bit. So something I forgot, right, is when you put this car in park, you actually can't put it in park. So you put it in gear, then turn the ignition off, then pull up this. If you do not pull up the handbrake or forget any of those steps, this car will literally roll away. So just something to remember. Now I'm in manual, one time over, bring it into, so, you know, neutral, park, put it in gear, turn it off. Now it won't slide. Damn. give you guys a little bit of like a scenery view here. I live next to a horse farm. I gotta not run over these little kids. I gotta remember that they're hi guys. Yeah, I'm like low-key the coolest dude over here. No, I live in the middle of nowhere, so this is fun. But anyways, so just cruising along right now. You'll see kind of the hills that we're getting into. But you know, in terms of response, that sort of thing, like you'll see all the turns I have here. This car is like effortless. It really is. Now I came from a TTRS before, and hopefully the wind's not too bad. I'm gonna have to listen to this back. And that was a fun little car, but the handling and steering on this R8, even though it's over a decade old, is just so sharp. I don't know, man. I don't really have to even think about it. Now, the steering's very stiff, regardless of whether or not, like the sport mode, I haven't noticed too big of a difference. Like, yeah, the suspension maybe stiffens up, but not by a noticeable amount. But the car just handles so well. And right now, again, we have it in automatic mode, so it's going to want to try to go to highest gear possible. It's going to go into 6 a lot, and you're just not really going to hear too much, you know, of the engine notes, that sort of thing, at that gear. All right, so the engine's warmed up. I have no idea if this is gonna make a difference here, but now I'm putting the car in a manual. This car wants to be shifted like high revs. It doesn't get really revved out until about 8,000. So, you know, you can really go down in gear. I was saying you can really go down in gear and then punch it, but punching it just made this slide. Yeah, it's gonna do it every time. It's just slapping the phone down. I wonder how I can. Let me see if I can figure this out. So yeah, I guess that's like one of the better parts of living kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So you got like a mile long run of street there to drive past. But that, I guess that sounded okay. I have no idea how it sounds with the wind. I'm gonna have to figure this all out in post. But the point is, manually controlling those shift points is just so rewarding, and the sound of the natural aspirated V8 the whole time is just like it is so much fun. You know, as a weekender car, taking it out, like, I mean, $68,000 I paid for the car. You know, people still associate R8 with the supercar. You know, if it's the Doug DeMuro, like, cool factor, like, people, it's a cool ass car. Like, no one's gonna care that the modified 4 Raptor I had, like, you know, it's more than this car, because it's just a pickup truck. You know, this car is like, in my opinion, just like art. It's something that people see. They see the lines on, they love, and it's just as rewarding as it is to drive as it is to, you know, whip it around knowing that, you know, you paid a fraction of what it was worth new. Now, of course, you're sacrificing some things, you know, some modern amenities, but if you're looking for, you know, a car that you're gonna sit in, throw on some, you know, radio tunes or jerry-rig your iPhone and just have a drive, I've done that. Amazing car, so much fun. You know, and something maybe I'll revisit here. You know, the RS5 is a really good workhorse, but you know, it just depends. If I make some more money here, you know, a modern R8 I think delivers a lot of the same things in terms of driving experience. Of course, now they're all V10s anyway, and I think that there's you know, something said for that. But you know, for a V8, this car is amazing. A lot of fun, very quick, and even though, you know, 10 years later. Again, because we check the service history, because we know the provenance, that sort of thing, not too many issues with it at all.